This is real. This is a real item you can find on the new Spirit Blossom Summoner's Rift on PBE. Why is it there? Because League's artists are mocking me. Why would they be mocking me? Well, that is an interesting story. And the last time I checked, we had just enough for like a 10-minute video, I guess. So once again, it's time to talk about what the heck is happening with League's maps, and let's talk about how they are changing. Again. So, story time. Before I covered the Spirit Blossom map, that wasn't the first time I talked about League's environment. And I'm not talking about lore, I'm talking about polygons and textures. It doesn't happen very often that we would get a new map for League of Legends. We got the new arenas, and I really enjoyed looking around there. Swarm got a really cool map, which was full of Easter eggs, including stuff like strawberries just lying around, because strawberry used to be the code name for the game mode. But it wasn't until we got the new map for Arcane that I dove into how the map was actually made. Specifically, I looked around for Easter eggs that would be hinting at things in Arcane, and in general, I just looked around at how the environment was made. Of course, this is all connected to the fact that I am still making my own game. One day I will officially announce it, I guess. But as a big part of that, what I also did is that I just glitched with the camera through the houses and buildings to see what's around. And one thing I noticed is that underneath the shopkeepers, they had like a different clone of the same shopkeeper. To this day, I still have no idea why they were there and what was their purpose. But since then, what I did every time is that whenever we get a new map, the first thing I do is that I dive underneath the map. And so when the Noxian map came out, I did the same thing. Now if you go into the video where I covered that map, you'll see that I didn't really find much. But I did it regardless. And it seems like the artists at Riot noticed that I was doing that. And so they actually hid an Easter egg specifically aimed for me, and somehow I missed it in the video where I was covering the new map. See, in that video I dove underneath the map and I saw that there are some really weird things, like pieces of the old base, including some statues and even the fountain from one side just using the texture of the new map. But I didn't see that there was also hiding something special, because to be honest, it was really well hidden. You see, if you spectate a game on the new map, you can then turn your camera into the FPS mode, which allows you to fly around and glitch through things. If you then line up your camera with the trees and go directly down, right next to the big Azakana mask, which we talked about in the video, you just dig deeper and deeper and deeper until you find a sticky note. A sticky note with my hat. It's this one. This is the hat. This is the hat. That's the hat. That's on the sticky note. That's me. Now here is a really funny thing which I kinda don't even wanna say. Riot is technically using my likeness in their game. So they totally opened themselves up for legal action. But just to make sure that the artists are not getting into trouble, because this is all just fun and games, this is my legally binding release that Riot can use my likeness or anything connected to my likeness for the use of prettifying their maps in League of Legends. Now the truth is, I did sign a totally different NDA with totally different kinds of releases for the Ruined King game, where I also agreed that Riot can use my likeness for whatever. So I am pretty sure I don't even have to say anything. I am pretty sure Riot still holds the rights to use my likeness in their games. Speaking of which, do I look like that? So anyway, after making sure that the sticky note stays in the game. Yes, if you spectate the game on the new Summoner's Rift, if you dive below the bottom fountain, you will find a reference to me, I guess. Now, there is a really interesting reason why a lot of people missed this. It's because even in the files, it was decently well hidden. You see, what you can do is that you can go through all the new textures which are there for the new Summoner's Rift. And as part of the texture pack used for one of the fountains, you can just see the sticky note right there. But here's the thing. This sticky note was not there on the first PBE where the new map dropped. Apparently, it was put in on the second patch of the new map. Meaning that when the new files originally dropped and people looked through the textures, no one really noticed anything. But then, on the second patch, after they updated the textures, people didn't really bother to look at everything again. And so the sticky note just slipped by. Regardless, I am grateful for this because now I am a proud owner of my own texture in League of Legends. I can print this out and put it on a wall, but of course we still have a little bit of time before we make a 10-minute video, and so we can still talk about what actually changed with the map. Because you see, as the new PvE patches are still rolling on, Riot is already changing and updating the new map. And so, if you go back and watch my first video where I covered the new Summoner's Rift, some things are already outdated. And so, I'm still gonna assume that you watched the first video, and so now I'm gonna point out some really interesting differences. For example, you know all of those statues of the monkey, the capybara, and what people agreed on could be a dragon, not a wolf? Well, I still believe that these will be referencing some kind of a new metagame, but it is interesting that Riot put a lot more of these statues all around the new map. They are everywhere along the sides of the new map, and they are sprinkled all around the jungle. To add in some more detail, they also planted around some candles, and they also spread around some weird new item for both sides. For the bottom side, you have these very vibrant lanterns, which really stick out, which makes me think that maybe during the duration of the new season, they will change. Again, similar to what happened when LeBlanc corrupted the new Summoner's Rift. And that's because for the top side, you also have another vibrant item, which is these Spirit Blossom braziers, or whatever those are. Again, they really stick out, they don't really blend in with the environment, which makes me think that something is gonna happen with these. Also, it's funny to see that they are technically using Ionian iconography on them, but it is getting very close to Ishtal. Is Ishtal gonna be included in the story? Yeah, anything is possible. Also, on the top side, we have new blooms. The blue ones were only previously seen on the other side of the map, but now the top side also has a more orange version of these. The idea still seems to be that one side could be a physical realm, with the other side of the map going more into the spirit realm. And since these blooms are what links the two realms, it is cool to see two versions on either side. Also, while looking at one of those Spirit Blossom braziers, I noticed something which is also up on the normal Summoner's Rift, which is this P equals NP. I looked around the internet and I have still no idea what this is. Is this a reference to the P versus NP? If not, I still have no idea what this is, so if anyone knows, please tell me. Is this like a competitive game reference or something? Anyway, another cool detail you can see is that if you go to the top lane, you can still see the beautiful scene in the background, which is mostly red to blend in with the environment. But if you go down from that point all the way to bottom, you can see that the background changes into blue. And that is to more blend in with the blue environment. Those two are actually two totally separate textures that are in the background. There is no environmental blending happening at all. It's literally two planes with two separate textures. In fact, here are the textures. They are beautiful and I might steal them for video backgrounds. And speaking of textures, we can also go into those. For example, here is the texture of all those animalistic statues. Because these textures are so packed, we can assume there will be no more statues added in. It's only the monkey, the capybara, and the dragony wolf. But also, here's the texture for the masks. What we can see here is that the Blood Moon Akali mask is not a reused item. They specifically remade it as a separate model for this map, so I still have no idea what that is referencing. But yes, there is still a mask for Jhin, there is one for Irelia, and we still got 3 new masks, and I still have no idea what new skins these are teasing. Another thing we can mention is that looking at the files, we now have a name for one of the sides. The top side is simply referenced as Kinkou. In other words, ninjas. So we were right with the entire theme of that side of the map. That is why you can see Shen there. But also, that's why there is a special member from Legends of Runeterra who is giving the Kinkou members their masks. Because you see, now we can also connect all of this to something else. It is something I didn't show in the last video because honestly I was not sure if it was a leak. But apparently it might be linked to some files, so if this is a leak, I am totally sorry, avert your gaze. But in short, we did get to see the cover of the new comic that Xin Zhao is gonna get during Spirit Blossom. I'm gonna show it, in case it is a leak, don't look. Ta-da! So what you can see here is that Xinjiao is indeed in Ionia, which is his homeland, and he is there with who seems to be Kennen. Now here's the thing, since the masks are such a big theme here, if you link it all together, there is a big tinfoil hat theory brewing. What if Xinjiao is gonna join the Kinkou? What if that's why the mask lady is here? I should look up the name of that card by now. But yes, the truth is that Xinjiao is probably getting a big chunk of a story. As to how deep that will go, we still have no idea. Speaking of which, I have no idea how long this video is. I didn't really write the proper script. And so I'm just gonna guess it's long enough for now, okay? And so that was my rant about the new map, which also includes me, I guess. But truth be told, I'm just really happy that Riot is still updating the map and they are making it better and better, even though it is already deployed on PBE. For example, one thing they did is that they actually cleaned up the models that were under the ground. All those pieces of the base are gone now. Which makes sense. Now the game doesn't have to load in the old model, so this is all done for optimization. But what is far more important than that is that that one bird in the bottom lane is still there for some reason, hanging in the air. But above that, the frog boy is once again animated. He moves again. I'm just really happy about that.